Module 2 Violence and Falsehood. Recap. An evil thought, word, or deed which is the cause of pain and suffering is a sin. These include delusion and passions. Sins are of 5 types: violence, falsehood, theft, unchastity, and possessions. Sins attract inauspicious bondage of karma, which bears severe demerits in the future. They lead to defamation, shame, punishment, fear, and anxiety, making one miserable. Hence, one must understand and avoid them. In this topic, we will understand violence and falsehood and see their definition, subtypes, adverse effects, efforts to avoid them. Let us learn more about them. Number 1. Violence or injury. Hinsa. We observe violence around us all the time and sometimes also become a part of it. How so? You might ask. For example, several individuals rejoice when a terrorist or a rapist gets the death sentence. Do you realize that being happy about it is violence? Do you feel manufacturing weapons like guns and swords is violence too? Do you think that the mere thought of killing someone is violence? Yes, all of this is indeed violence. Violence comes in various other forms too. For example, using cosmetics and leather items that harm animals, bursting firecrackers, walking carelessly and hurting tiny living beings, cutting trees or plucking flowers. The violence of self and others is a great sin. Let us understand more about it. What is violence? Acts like killing, hurting, hitting, and causing emotional pain, and the evil dispositions causing these fall under the category of violence. We can classify it into 2 main types: physical, dravya, and psychic, bhav. Here we must note that the same divisions appear in all the 5 sins. Physical aspect denotes the act of sin through body or speech, whereas the psychic aspect denotes the internal intent or dispositions towards committing the sin. Let us understand more about them. External or physical violence, dravya hinsa. Acts of killing, hurting, harassing, teasing, irritating, harming, injuring, causing emotional distress to others, etc. are forms of external or physical violence. Psychic violence, bhav hinsa. Any emergence of attachments, aversions, or delusions in the soul is internal or psychic violence, as it destroys the internal purity of the soul. It means the occurrence of mild or intense passions, thoughts of harming or hurting others, feelings of anger, envy, etc. are psychic violence. It is the main culprit behind causing physical harm to other beings. Even if one does not cause bodily injury, the mere thought of harming others leads to the bondage of inauspicious karma. But in the absence of psychic violence, if another being is accidentally harmed, it does not lead to severe bondage. So, we must be mindful of our thoughts and avoid all types of internal violence. The occurrence of impure sentiments is violence, hinsa. So other sins like falsehood, theft, unchastity, and possessions are various forms of violence itself. Scriptures have made the divisions primarily to understand different forms of violence better. When no impure sentiment arises in the soul and all the attachments are eliminated, it is known as non-violence. This non-violence is the greatest religion. Ahimsa Paramo Dharma. Let us look at 4 divisions of violence. Number 1. Intentional violence. Sankalpi Hinsa. Violence committed cruelly intending to harm or kill a living being. For example, murder, suicide, hunting, abortion, pest control, mercy killing of pets, and all other forms of intentional injury. Number 2. Domiciliary violence, Arambhi Hinsa. Unavoidable violence committed by a householder for his daily chores. For example, violence caused while preparing food, chopping vegetables, using water and electricity, cleaning, and so on. Number 3. Industrial violence, Udyogi Hinsa. Violence committed when doing any appropriate business. For example, farming, mining, construction of buildings, etc. Number 4. Defensive violence, Virodhi Hinsa. Even though not desired, violence is committed for defending true religion, religious institutions, country, family, or self. For example, fighting a murderer for self-defense, execution of anti-nationals by police, etc. Efforts to avoid violence. The followers of Jainism must give up all types of intentional violence, as the fruits of such acts are demerits like birth in hell and subhuman states. Violence is not only caused by actually committing the crime, but also by instructing others to do it, or even by applauding it. Krit Karit Anumodana. Thoughts of committing a crime or mentally planning it are equally punishable and must be avoided. First, we must try to understand the nature of things by studying the scriptures. As we realize that I am a soul and the others towards whom we have ill feelings are also souls, the desire to harm, hurt, or inflict pain goes away. Even plants, animals, insects are souls. They can sense pain. So we should be compassionate and minimize activities that hurt them. This means we must avoid using leather and silk and use cruelty-free products. It also means that it is crucial to eat a pure vegetarian Jain diet and follow the rules of conduct mentioned in the scriptures. We must try to avoid businesses that cause a lot of violence. Also, investing money in companies producing cigarettes, meat, pesticides, weapons, alcohol, etc. encourages violence and hence must be avoided. We should not wish ill for anyone. If someone hurts us, think of it as the fruit of our past karma and forgive them. We must not let thoughts of revenge and envy pollute our mind. We should not exploit workers or overburden them with work. Also, we must not make animals carry heavy loads. We should avoid joy rides on animals that cause them pain. We need to reflect on our activities daily and think about those that were unnecessary. We must try to avoid them in future. These are small steps to avoid violence in our daily life. The more we try to understand the nature of a soul and get engrossed in it, these sins get eliminated gradually on their own. Number 2. Falsehood or lies. Jhoot. The second of the 5 sins is falsehood, often committed without much thought. Some common examples are bunking school to watch a movie and giving a false leave note to the teacher, going to a party and lying to parents about studying with a friend, hiding things from your spouse, a shopkeeper lying about the quality of his products, and this way the list goes on. All these look harmless, but do you ever wonder what will be the fruit of these states? Do you know lying about one's weight or age is also a sin? Do you know that hurtful words are also lies? Let us try and understand falsehood better. Definition: false understanding of the nature of a substance and saying it that way, or the sentiment associated with it, is known as falsehood. A hurtful statement arising out of intense passion is also false. Falsehood is of 2 kinds: verbal falsehood, dravya asatya; psychic falsehood, bhava satya. Verbal falsehood, dravya asatya. Not understanding the correct nature of things and saying it incorrectly is verbal falsehood. It is of the following kinds: saying someone or something is present when in reality it is not, or vice versa. For example, when debtors ask for a payment, you say you are out of town when in reality you are not. Expressing a particular thing as something else or depicting its false nature. For example, saying that soul is a body and the body is the soul. Saying hurtful words, insulting others, making fun of others, saying words against the message of scriptures are all verbal falsehood. For example, words said to intimidate someone, a boss criticizing juniors in front of others. Saying harsh truth that harms others is falsehood. For example, your colleague has a personal issue due to which she has not finished her report, and you go and complain to the boss. Saying statements that promote violence and hatred. For example, giving instructions to kill or harm others. Psychic falsehood, bhava satya. False belief, false knowledge, and false understanding of the nature of substances that lead to false statements are psychic falsehoods. In the absence of true knowledge about the soul or religion, how can one ever speak the truth? So false knowledge is the root cause of falsehood. It causes misery to the self and others who get instigated to walk on the wrong path by taking the wrong inspiration. Adverse effects of falsehood. The truth is that nobody trusts a liar. One might remember the story of shepherd and the wolf. If we lie, we will meet the same fate when nobody will trust us, help us, or have any relationship with us. The bad reputation of a liar will stick for a long time. One lie needs the support of 100 other lies to avoid exposure to the truth. It causes anxiety and uneasiness as one is afraid that he will be exposed. Due to his misdeeds, a liar will also be betrayed by his family members, friends, servants, etc. He will be deprived of trustworthy associations. To avoid such misfortune, one must speak the truth at all costs. It might not be easy at times, but in the long run, It will build better relationships, give mental peace, and save one from demerits in the future. Remember, honesty is the best policy. Efforts to avoid falsehood. We must give supreme importance to ethical behavior and lead a life based on Jain principles. We should try to understand the true nature of things from learned gurus, scholars, and scriptures and assimilate it into our beliefs. We should make it a habit to have authentic information before deciding about anything. We should not take it as the truth by going by hearsay or reading. Truth has so much power that a person who takes its side will win in any situation. A famous example is Mahatma Gandhi, who used Satyagraha and got India free from British rule without any war. We must always think before we speak. We must never utter harsh, hurtful words that might be painful to others. We can try to maintain transparency in our relationships and never hide anything. If we commit a mistake, we should confess it to our spouse, guru, or parents and try our best to rectify it. It takes away guilt and eases stress. We must strive to speak beneficial, less and sweet words. It will ensure minimal clashes and great relationships. Summary: we can classify violence as external and psychic. Acts of killing, harming, teasing, or inflicting pain on others are physical violence. Psychic violence is the impure dispositions of attachments, aversions, delusions, and passions that harm the soul's purity. Falsehood is of two types: verbal and psychic. A false understanding of the nature of things and saying it incorrectly, stating facts otherwise, hurtful and insulting words, and statements causing violence and hatred are forms of verbal falsehood. False knowledge leading to dispositions of falsehood is psychic falsehood. Reading and understanding the true nature of things and following the instructions of scriptures concerning appropriate conduct helps one avoid violence and falsehood.